Welcome to Earth, the only planet where being conscious apparently isn't enough. We wake up tired, we panic about the day, and then we go hunting for a plant, a leaf, a bean, a pouch, a bottle, a cigarette, or a tiny pharmaceutical miracle to drag our souls across the finish line. This is the story of stimulants around the world, which is really just the story of humanity politely refusing to experience baseline reality. Coffee in one country is sophistication, tea in another is ceremony, yerba mate is community, cola nut is tradition, betel nut is ritual, nicotine is just a habit, and prescription stimulants are somehow either medicine, ambition, or scandal, depending on who's holding the paperwork. Same species, different cups, same exhaustion, different packaging. We didn't just discover stimulants, though we built civilizations around them. Entire mornings are basically religious theater. The espresso machine hisses like a dragon. The kettle sings like a tiny domestic opera. The cafe line stretches out like a modern pilgrimage of overworked believers whispering, "Please make me a person again." And the punchline is that a lot of this started as culture, climate, survival, or social bonding.
Why we need to wait
Tea
for
wasn't
the
born as a
others.
lifestyle accessory for people who own
but the
7
discussion
notebooks.
so far has
Coca
been
leaves weren't
incredibly
invented by
insightful.
productivity influencers. Khat wasn't some corporate retreat icebreaker. These substances often lived inside geography, labor, ritual, and history long before global capitalism slapped a logo on them and said, "What if alertness, but scalable?" That's the genius of human society. We can take something sacred, practical, medicinal, or communal, and turn it into a subscription model. Coffee becomes office fuel. Guarana becomes a can screaming at teenagers. Cocoa becomes comfort with a tiny wink of stimulation. Nicotine becomes a stress management device that somehow creates more stress. And everywhere, always, there is some cheerful adult saying, "I can stop any time," while constructing their entire personality around a cup, a smoke break, or a little tablet that promises focus in exchange for interest payments from the nervous system. Because stimulants are never just chemistry, they're permission. Permission to work longer, study harder, drive farther, talk more, party later, smile through burnout, perform an upgraded version of yourself. That's why societies tolerate them so selectively. If the substance helps the machine run, it gets a better publicist. If it shows up in a porcelain cup, it's refinement. If it comes from a pharmacy with your name on it, it's treatment. If it appears in a back alley, suddenly everyone rediscovers morality. Same lightning, different font. And yes, cultures really do arrange these chemicals on a spectrum from holy to dirty, from grandmother-approved to criminal, from natural to dangerous, as if a leaf cannot wreck you and a laboratory cannot heal you. Humans love that fantasy.
We agree.
We are obsessed
Absolutely
with
brilliant.
pretending that nature is innocent
We're ready
and
now.
synthesis is evil, until the deadline
Let's
arrives.
go, everyone.
Then suddenly
We
the
have
question
so
is
much
not,
to do.
what is this doing to me? The question is, will this get me through Thursday? That is the real global language. Not English, not Mandarin, not Spanish. Thursday, the workday, the exam week, the night shift, the double shift, and the truck route, the airport delay, the startup pitch, the parent who hasn't slept. The student staring at a tower of books like education is a hostage situation. Stimulants are the unofficial diplomats of exhausted civilization. They smooth over the gap between what the body can do and what the economy demands. Of course, the body keeps receipts. Faster heart, shallow sleep, jittery thoughts, tolerance climbing like rent, withdrawal turning a normal morning into a desert of fog and
always
irritation.
sends a bill.
You don't borrow energy from nowhere, you borrow it from later. And later is a brutal accountant. But later is also boring. And humans hate boring almost as much as they hate being tired. So around the world, we keep making deals. Some people sip, some chew, some smoke, some swallow. Some call it wellness. Some call it hustle. Some call it medicine. Some call it coping. A few call it exactly what it is, a chemically assisted negotiation with reality. And there's another little twist. Stimulants are also tied to
Enjoying the
labor
coffee,
systems,
James?
trade routes, colonial histories,
Couldn't start the
plantations,
morning without it,
extraction,
Bob.
advertising, and waste. Your harmless morning ritual may have crossed oceans, climbed supply chains, and passed through somebody else's underpaid hands before it reached your self-care moment. Nothing says modern innocence like drinking global inequality out of a biodegradable cup. And still, here we are. Because none of this is just about substances. It's about the human refusal to be merely human. We want to be sharper, faster, friendlier,
By
thinner,
joining the team
louder,
at this level,
calmer,
you
while
unlock
somehow also
unlimited
being more
bonuses
productive.
and a healthier
We want
life.
transcendence with office Wi-Fi. We want ancient ritual and same-day delivery. We want stimulation without consequence, performance without collapse, pleasure without dependence, speed without the crash. We want the sun to rise inside the bloodstream on command. That is the comedy. That is the tragedy. Around the world, every culture has found its own elegant excuse to whisper the same desperate sentence. I need a little something. And maybe that is the most universal stimulant of all. Not caffeine, not nicotine, not pills, not leaves, not cans. But the beautifully terrified human belief that who we are, unaided, is somehow not enough.